everybody. And I won't talk long because I know we have kind of two real quick. I told you all the last time about the truck one, that I was inclined to go ahead and sign on to that, because they have made, I think they sent the information to you, the changes that they could make. There were some suggestions that you all had that they could not do because it was not their land, but they were going to contact the owner and just try to encourage them to do that. So I will get off now and let them go first, so that you all have just a, no, I believe Joshua is the one that has only the 10 minutes part. So I think that's Emily. Emily, I'm gonna let you all go on and explain.
Thank you, Councilmember, and thank you for calling this meeting for us. I've got my two clients here. I sent to, and we're happy to answer any questions. I have communicated pretty extensively with Tawana Chick, I think, as sort of the representative for the community. She made several requests that we are unable to accommodate because the requests are being made on a portion of the property that we rent and do not own. And so we are committed to working with that landlord, making requests to landlord to do what improvements we can, but we can't guarantee anything because we don't own that property and so don't have the legal authority to make some of those changes. I sent to Rosie Hayes last week some of the things that we are willing to do on the enable and willing to do on the property that we are attempting to rezone, as well as working with the landlord on the property that is adjacent to it that we don't own, but we do. We are, we've been in this area for a long time. We have a vested interest and want to be good neighbors and want to be good community members and do what we can to help beautify and otherwise improve the area. So we're certainly committed to that. And I've got Andrew Mazzano and Ed Thomas here. They're on behalf of my clients. We're happy to answer any questions, or if you want us to go over, again, I sent it to Rosie in an email, and I think she blasted that out to the community, but we're happy to answer any questions.
I think it has been sent out to the community.
And we certainly want to respect the
question.
Sure.
Sorry, I just have one question, and I see another hand up as well. The things that you could not do because you were renting, have you already put in an ask to the landowner or a letter or something asking that those things be done?
I will let Ed answer that because they're the ones who have the relationship with the landlord. So Ed or Andrew, whichever would be more appropriate.
Yeah, that's fine. I've had some preliminary discussions with them, but I haven't put anything sort of in writing just yet, just because I think we wanted to kind of see how this meeting was going. But, we're happy to sort of to do that and push that along based on, if we feel like we're sort of getting close here. As I think we said in that correspondence, we have a very good relationship with the landlord. But it is, again, as Emily said, it's their property. It's not our property. And so, we just can't make agreements on their behalf.
Okay, I saw John had a hand up.
Thank you, Council Lady. First is a very simple question. Who is everybody on this call from the advocate side? I saw the email that Rosie sent out to us, and it was just signed Emily. I didn't know who.
Hi, John. I'm Emily Lamb. I am an attorney here in Nashville, local attorney here in Nashville, working with the potential property owners.
Introduce your team. That's what you did not do.
Yeah, are you with a firm?
I am. I'm with the local firm Thompson Burton. We have a land use and development practice. We work with Metro a good bit. Formerly worked at Metro myself, and so that's my role here. And I've got two of my clients, Ed Thomas and Andrew Mazzano, who are here with, they work with TA truck stops. And they are attempting to purchase this property at 936 Firestone Parkway to continue their existing operation on an adjacent parcel.
So this is Truck Stops of America, or?
Yes, sorry, this is Ed Thomas from TA. We call it TA, but yes, our company is called Travel Centers of America. You might know us obviously from being in your community. We operate about 280 plus large truck stops and travel centers and truck repair facilities across the United States and a couple locations in Canada. Where we operate under the brands TA, so the big red, white, and blue TA signs that you see on the highway and in your community, as well as under the brand name Petro stopping centers, which are sort of green and red and white branded sites that you might have seen too.
Is this the same organization? This is going back a few decades that Bill Sheriff was running back in the 80s and 90s.
That is going to test my knowledge because I've only been at the company since 2015. That name isn't familiar to me, but it's possible. I don't know. Andrew's my colleague. He's on this corporate development side. Andrew, you wouldn't have any info on that, would you?
Well, I'm Googling it, but I've been around less time than Ed, so I haven't heard the name. And
Okay.
Our
Guys...
closest competitors are Loves and Pilot, so also
sure.
A lot of people get us confused with them.
Sure. And can you guys send us your contact information? All three of you? I've got to tell you, Ms. Lamb, I took offense at your email. I don't like the community being told that if you don't let us do this, this is going to happen to you. I find that highly inappropriate. I don't know that maybe you haven't run across that in your work to date, but it's not a desirable method to get your way.
Well, I'm certainly sorry I offended you. That was not my intent. I don't know if you were on the
No,
the back and forth with Twana. She and some other community members, including Councilmember Lee, we had communicated at length about this, and so that was really just a summary of some of our previous conversations. That certainly was not looking to offend anybody, and sincerely apologize that I did.
well, no problem. I understand how those things happen. Yeah, and I was on a 2-hour phone call with Twana earlier today, and I don't think that she's going to be able to make it tonight. Maybe she will, but she indicated that she might not. Certainly like to discuss this again with you guys. I find that that a organization of your size has great power over the landowners where your facilities are located, and believe that you can actually affect the change that community members are asking for. So I'll go back over that with Twana, but I think you guys got the power to get this done. You've been there for what, 30 years?
Let me introduce and ask a question. Is there anybody that is here in the meeting on the side from the community that did not get the information that they sent out answering or saying what they could do and what they would be willing to do?
So on the other end, I'm concerned about the site of the wash, the truck wash. I believe that's probably been there before significant environmental standards were in place regarding, hosing off vehicles with lots of hazardous chemicals. So I'm wondering whether or not that site is not a contaminated one that might need some reclamation done before anything is sited there again. Have you all looked at the site from that perspective yet?
Yes,
Yes.
we have. We completed an environmental inspection as we do in all of our potential acquisitions. And, you know, the existing owner has been a great steward of the location. And we're planning to invest a pretty significant amount of money into the location to get it up to our standards for truck repair. And going forward, will not be, you know, having the use of truck wash where there is any kind of runoff.
So I know when you all first presented, one of my major concerns when I drove back there was about how, and I know this was one of the issues that the community was concerned about as well, how all of the different trucks were like just parked over at the side of the road and everything looked very messy. It wasn't actually right there on your property, but it was like off and like runoff from your property, that type of thing. So that may be some of as well what Mr. Stern is looking at as contamination if it was a lot of mess. And I know we brought that up before. Has that been straightened up, cleaned up? Yes, no?
Are you talking about the Marathon Petroleum site, or their property that had a ton of trash and debris that I think Tawana had sent over?
I guess so. And it had trucks all
Okay.
parked down the line as well. So it wasn't the site, it was a site that's already there, not the one that you're looking to purchase.
Right. Well, so I think I can't speak to, because I assume it depends on the day you're there and what the traffic pattern is. But what I think is great about us being able to own both properties is that we'll have more staff members there for extended hours to be able to, you know, if someone is, you know, not on the road or is on the road and not, you know, blocking traffic or not where they're supposed to be, you know, we're good stewards of the community and can either, you know, first take the first step and try to get them to move, or, you know, obviously call the police or whatever we need to do to make sure that it's safe to be on those roads. You know, it's something, just given the lack of truck parking in the United States, it's something that's just an issue more broadly.
I think Mr. Price has his hand up as well.
Thank you. As I recall from previous meetings, the location where the truck wash is currently, those service bays, if you will, would only be used for trailer repair. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I see. I saw Ed nodding, but and so to that extent, there really is no mechanical work involving engine fluids and the like that would be occurring at the current site of the truck wash.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you said something that troubled me in response to a previous question from Councilmember Lee, that, you know, adding this service area to your current space would allow you to add more staff for extended hours. From our previous meetings, I was under the impression that, you know, this service area for trailers was not going to be a 24/7 operation. So would you please
It will
address
it will not
the-
be 24 hours.
Okay, what
Um,
hours are you anticipating?
I think they're typically 8 to 8. We can respond with the exact hours that we anticipate, but I think what I was trying to get across was that at both sites, the employees are of one employer, and therefore will have each other's numbers and have each other's, they'll both report to the same person ultimately, and they can make sure that they coordinate if they see something happening that isn't right, which was the point of the remark I made.
Okay. I mean, it's, I would think that at the tractor service location, there are already sufficient people to monitor and maintain and ensure that parts that have been replaced are not just left on site. So, thank you.
They do not complete tractor repairs or at the existing truck wash at the truck wash site, and not the same employer.
See, John has a hand up, and I don't know if you have yours up again, Larry. Okay.
Hey, I'm sorry I'm a little behind the power curve on this one. We've been assaulted in the Cane Ridge community by development over the last 4 years, as you could imagine. And so it would be one of the things I find very helpful is to go on site and talk with the people responsible. Would it be possible for you guys to meet us first of next week and walk the site and physically um, make some determinations, because it's kind of hard looking at maps, and I've driven by the site twice and have seen those trailers, Council Lady Lee, which are of some concern. But if this can improve the area, I'm all for it. As long as it doesn't create additional traffic, I think we're good. And if it could make the TA stop more desirable visually from Old Hickory Boulevard, I think that'd be a great thing, Council Lady. But I'd like to walk the site with them if that is at all possible. Thank you.
Could you all
I
make
do-
sure whoever the contact person is on that, I don't know if that's going to be you, Emily, or whom, would you please make sure that in the chat you put your contact information along with a phone number so that those that want to do that can do that. And if it's not you, whoever it is can do that. Because I know I have looked at it and that might be a good thing.
I will certainly provide my contact information and talk to Ed and Andrew and see if that's something that we can accommodate on the short notice. I'm sure that if we are able to, we would be happy to.
Because you may get quite a few people that want to do that.
I do think on the traffic point, I think, I understand, I totally understand the community's concerns and wanting to look at this really closely. I think one thing we view as a real positive for the community based on our experience of um, building out and converting other spaces for truck repair, particularly truck wash spaces. Truck repair is a piece of our business that's really been growing and doing well across the country. So we have some sort of recent experience with this. But we do find that when you're going from a truck wash facility to a trailer repair facility, the number of trucks in and out on a daily average basis really does tend to go down, because the turnover is just, it's a lot lower. It takes longer to make these trailer repairs. You can't just be pulling trucks in and sending them back out on the road as fast as you can for a truck wash. So we do think that the traffic, has a real potential. I mean, if I had to guess, obviously I don't have a crystal ball and can't tell you exactly what's going to happen, but I really do feel very confident that the traffic volume is going to go down at this site. If we're able to come in and build the site. And also, as I think Andrew was getting toward, the fact that we'll have coordination between the main travel center that we operate on the larger parcel for the truck stop, and now this parcel, we'll be able to coordinate. If there's an overflow of parking on one area, we'll be able to move trucks to another area and vice versa. So I do think that's going to help in terms of managing and just having more space available to reorient trucks and park them in the most ideal locations.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I appreciate that. It didn't look to me like there was active truck washing going on there. My guess is that the truck wash on our side of the interstate, Council Lady, was probably sucking most of the business out of that old facility. But I'm willing to learn. Thank you, sir.
John, hence the owner of the old truck wash facility's desire to sell.
Good point.
But I would suggest to the party for this site that they work with the current owner of this old truck wash and get some information on truck wash cycle times, how many trucks go through that in a week. I mean, I would think the current owner should have that information to some extent, and then, overlay that with your projections of how many trailers you anticipate repairing in a week. That would be valuable information for you to share with the planning commission when you present this to them.
Another piece, and maybe I am not totally understanding how you guys are working, but it's my understanding that you're renting part of the property now, and the pieces that we were talking about to help improve that you could not do, that you were going to talk to the owner. It seems like whatever that was, whether you buy the other one or not, it would help the area and help your property as well as the site of the aesthetics of the TA. So I was just kind of surprised that you haven't already reached out to ask to do that, because that would show kind of your proactiveness in trying to get things done.
No, understood, and that's fair. As I said, I've had preliminary discussions with them. We're trying to move this forward in the best way possible. I think we're just trying to streamline the process, work with you guys and understand, what our sort of the requests are and what you all need. We are also trying to be cognizant that, this is a request we're making regarding this one specific piece of property. So, we want to be clear about what we can and can't offer regarding other pieces of property that are, adjacent or nearby.
And it's my understanding, and I did not read over the letter once we had our phone conversation, Emily, because I just figured you put in there what you would explain to me on the telephone. But I understand that went out, that information went out. But it's not just a piece of what you all can do and what you can't do. It's more of what you will do and what you're willing to do. I think that's more of what the community was looking for, and that you can push just a little harder to say that these things need to be done. That's all. Do I have questions from anybody else on here about this, or comments? It's kind of hard to see the chat. I think I saw Emily's, oh, she put her information there now. I would recommend, if you're interested in going to look at it, to see it, that you contact them in a small group, do that. As I was telling you at the last meeting, I'm kind of inclined to go ahead and sign this so that it will start the process. But I will be very clear. That doesn't mean that it's going to go all the way through, because I can pull it anytime up to the third vote. So most likely the community will want you to come again to kind of, after they do the visit, in case they have some specifics that they may want to ask you or have you attend to. So I would hope that you would be willing to do that. Do I have comments or anything from anybody else? Okay, doesn't look like then we have, I am not available to do it, but don't want to stand in the way of progress. Okay, but you are very knowledgeable about things, Larry, so perhaps they can do it in a time when um, is good for you and some of the other folks who know the area, um, and can look at it with
I,
educated eyes on it. I think that would be good.
I trust the others, and they can catch me up after the
You
15th.
trust John?
Well, on a good day.
Okay, so that's fair. Whatever you all want to do, I've got nothing to do with it, just trying to facilitate that a small group, if that is, your desire, that you all do that and have a diverse group to lay eyes on it. Looks like for right now, unless somebody else speaks up before I stop, that's most of it on this particular spot that we can do right now. Do you have any other major questions or anything on this particular one? Okay, then I will thank you, Emily, and your team for being on here. Um, are you all open to meeting again after the walkthrough if people have some comments? Or
Councilmember Lee, you just cut out, but yes, we're
sorry.
open to meeting on site. We'll need to work with some of the local team members, as Andrew and Ed are not local, but they have been very involved in the operation. So I wanted them on this call. So we'll need to work with them to make sure we have somebody who's appropriate to be able to answer questions on site. In the event we are not able to facilitate that, I think if the group wants to meet on site and gather questions to send to me, we're certainly going to work towards meeting them on site, and we're willing to, if we can coordinate that with the right people here. We're certainly willing to have another meeting with the community. I would just, as you said yourself, Councilmember Lee, you can pull the legislation at any point. I think we've made a solidly good faith. I think we've demonstrated a really solid good faith effort to make improvements on the site. And we're eager to go ahead and, at least if you're willing, get the legislation introduced so that we can continue to work with the neighbors along the way, and not hinder that progress, knowing that, as you said, you can pull it any time. It's not a guarantee that it would go through, but we would very much appreciate at this point if we could get that legislation introduced so that while we continue to work with the neighbors and have meetings as needed.
Okay, thank you for you and your team presenting.
And thank you for finding the time in your calendar, and to all the members of the community for coming out and voicing your concerns and asking questions.
Let me jump to something that I did not do at the very beginning.
Do you need us for that?
No, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Is there anyone on here from the mayor's office or anybody that I should have introduced before we started and I did not?
One's from the mayor's office.
I'm sorry?
There's no one from the mayor's office.
Okay, all right. And I was hoping my beautification person would be on here so that he could also speak towards what's going on behind Publix. But I don't think he's on here now. Um, so I'm going to turn it over now to Joshua. You had something that you wanted to share. You have presented before. They're very familiar. Well, they are familiar with what you're about to show, but you had some changes and some things that you wanted to present because of the last meeting. So if you will introduce your team first, I will turn it over to you.
All right, hi. Good evening, everybody. As far as the team that's on tonight, it is just myself. My engineer is indisposed as well as the designer. But hopefully, I won't take up too much of you guys' time. So I know I've discussed this project quite a bit. I'm happy to share my screen if I.
Joshua, you're breaking up. Is there anything you could do to fix that?
I'm speaking normally at my computer. Am I breaking up currently or?
Keep facing the computer. I think that'll work.
Okay. So just looking at the camera, I'm happy to share my screen, basically to refresh everyone's memory of the project. It seems as if the main thing we're working through is basically amending the bill that is yet to be introduced with specific language for the intended use. So the whole idea behind the development is effectively an active adult-friendly development that is intended predominantly for the use of active adults.
I'm sorry, sir. Is anybody else having the experience I am? He's kind of fading in and out.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit with certain words, not all together, but some of it.
Maybe keywords. I don't know.
Let's see. I'm not exactly certain.
Oh, nope.
Let me see.
Have anything else going on your computer that might be taking away some of your bandwidth or whatever that is?
That's a good question. I mean, they're
Now you're
You're
frozen.
frozen now.
open for different things, but that's on. Let me see. Let's try to figure this out. Certain thing.
Joshua, while you're doing that, I just want everybody to know that last Friday there was a major fire in the Edison Park subdivision on Jenny Ruth Drive. That's abutting, I guess, some of the property you're looking at. There were
Jenny does
13 people living in that house, and firefighters saved in the house 2 live chickens.
Oh, that's interesting to keep them.
Is that is that the subdivision with the Clayton homes? No.
I
No,
don't think they're Clayton.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Jenny Smith is in Edison Park, but I don't believe it's Clayton.
I don't think so either.
It's very hard still very hard understanding you.
Okay, what I can try to do is to call in from my phone. I don't really know what the issue is other than maybe the microphone.
I think that is it. You know, when John was saying get closer, I think you're
Yeah.
kind of far from your stuff.
Well, I'm right here. Like my face is like in my computer's right here.
Right now you are. A few minutes ago you were sitting back, and that's when it gets light.
Okay, so is this
You're
better?
sounding good right now.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Oh, I'm just gonna turn the input volume up. It should be way better now. All right, cool. Technology. All right, great. So sorry about that, guys. So back to what I was saying. So for this development, effectively for active adults, we have our preliminary SP, our site plan pretty much laid out. We've gone through, we've added in the requested green space, activity areas, sidewalks, etc. Had numerous communication with the Edison Park members of the HOA. The HOA, I mean, it's not like every neighbor shows up. It's not the most active, but the few neighbors that do show up are very deeply involved and do care about their area. and I've explained the project to them in detail and gotten letters from them. I'm also aware of traffic improvements or a traffic light that's already been put in at Hamilton Church and Mount View. And after speaking with certain members of the Edison Park community for our current plan, and I'm able to share my screen, so let me just go ahead and do that. So looking at the current plan, you know, it's long ways. But you see how we basically have our access off of Hamilton Church Road, and then we have our access basically extending out to Painter Drive, so finishing that, as well as the cul-de-sac at Coneflower Trail. And after speaking with multiple people in the Edison Park neighborhood, there are no real issues with that. Actually, many people believe that's of greater convenience, basically allowing them to connect and hop over to because Hobson Road is, or Hobson Pike rather, is over to the east of this. This is laid north to south. So down is east. And overall, there've really been no real specific community objections in that particular subdivision. And at this point, what it seems like, it's more or less working to craft the correct language for the actual zoning bill to be introduced on top of the bulk standard and regulations. So that's the latest with it. The original intention and design is still effectively the same as far as the spirit of the type of homes to be built. And that is pretty much all I have for this evening as far as any other questions or any other things to incorporate. At this stage, it's more or less just fine tuning and crafting the language for the zoning bill, which I've forwarded over some draft samples of that to the council office.
Do I have anybody that is on this Zoom that is living right there in that area? Any of the ones that he may have talked to or in the nearby area? Okay, I would have loved to have heard from somebody in that area.
Yeah, I reached out to 5 individual people, basically telling them about the meeting, and they weren't able to attend. So the community engagement part has been somewhat difficult. I do know from when we had our meeting at with their neighborhood association at the library, you know, the library over there off of Hickory Hollow Pike, over in there. That was where we were able to get make a lot of progress. And specifically, the one community member that came, her name was Cassandra, and she lived right next door to on Painter Drive. So she lives right next door to where the road will be extended. And the funny thing about that was her main concern was she actually wanted the trees, she wanted like the land to be cleared next door to her because apparently it's causing issues or something with her runoff or stormwater, which I reassured her, oh, well, if that's the case, then we're actually good for you because we have to make sure that we have to, when we go to start clearing and putting in the road, which has public right of way, we have to put in stormwater infrastructure up under, so for the curb and gutter up under all that street. So that's actually gonna divert and help you on that front, which I thought was interesting. Typically people are more of a fan of their brush and trees, but in that case she wasn't, so.
And you had a question? Comment? Your hand is up.
Yes, indeed it is. So basically what I'm seeing and hearing is that you haven't changed anything since the last time we talked or the time before when we talked.
Well, there was nothing really to change except for crafting the language regarding the intended use for 55-year-olds and plus. So that's a language thing. That's not necessarily a site plan or like bulk and standards change.
So are you telling us that you're going to create a 55 plus restricted community?
Yes, that's the goal. And I remember we had some communication, maybe around a month or so ago about that, specifically about, again, the language part and the language question, basically how to incorporate that into the SP bill, but that's, again, not necessarily tied to the site plan. So that's, in my mind, that's basically the stage we're at and we're in. And then after consulting with some legal advice, effectively, the way it typically works is under the SP bills, we can put in certain covenants in that bill that specifies, basically that would mirror the same language of the HOA that then actually governs the use and operation of the development. That is the only way to really do that. It's basically a combination of both of those measures. So that's the point I'm trying to get to is effectively
Well,
basically.
yeah, I hear all the language and wordsmithing, Mr. McDonald, but the 55 plus age restricted community is a housing and urban development standard that requires 80% of the residents to be 55 years of age or older.
Yes.
In order to ensure that that happens, having been working with senior citizens groups for 30 some odd years, you have to include accoutrements within the development that fit the needs of that age group. I don't see any of those things included in your proposal. Places to recreate, to walk, to gather as a group inside.
Well, actually, that's actually not, well, excuse me. So for the gatherers a group inside, what you're asking for then is a community building, and that's not a requirement, to be quite frank. There are plenty of places to walk. There's sidewalk, there's open space, and etc. And then the question then becomes the actual final design for the architectural plans. That comes down to the door widths and all of that as for some accessibility standards.
Okay, well, let me finish with my comments, sir.
Sure.
I appreciate your. How many of these 55 plus age restricted communities have you created?
None specifically.
Okay, thank you. That's a good answer. I continue to be very concerned about the density of this development as opposed to the communities around it. I understand that you as a developer can go door to door spinning whatever words that you wish to spin. And that is different from a true survey of the community done by an impartial third party who then, identifies this is an option. You don't have to take it. So that's problematic in its essence. But, this is a Shams property, and the Shams family brand hasn't been very kind to District 33 members. And I don't know why we would want to provide them with any additional benefits. Doing this, we increase the value of this property. From what he bought it at, let's see, $42,000 back in 2012 to what are you going to pay for it today?
I'm not able to disclose that. But that's really, and honestly, sir, in no disrespect, to be quite frank, but that's neither here nor there. Again,
Absolutely, it's here or there. This is
how-
the community, and you're asking to build something in this community.
Yes, but
Hey, two of y'all are talking at the same time. Two of y'all are talking at the same time. We can't have
yeah,
that.
because he's making his point is
Excuse me, Joshua. Okay, so two of y'all are talking at the same time. So we're not going to do that. And we're going to try to talk and answer questions and be respectful of each other. So, Joshua, if you want to answer some of the things that he said or whatever without going back and forth.
Sure. All right. So to the point about this being Shane's property, yeah, he's the property owner, etc. But he's not involved in the zoning matter in the development plan. He has no real stake in that. Of course, after transfer of ownership has taken place. At this point, from my perspective, the development seems rather straightforward. Especially seeing other developments. I mean, maybe not like right next door to it, but actually maybe somewhat to the south and actually off of Hobson Pike. I mean, this is nothing that's actually controversial. Um, After speaking with people next door to it, I mean, people are more or less supportive to indifferent. There is a need for housing, especially housing that can be more so geared or marketed towards, more senior active adults. Um, it seems straightforward in my mind. I do know the development costs are absurd or will be quite high here, given the amount of public infrastructure you've agreed to put in that otherwise would not be put in. So that's where I think from that perspective, it's a little kind of like, well, what's all the difficulty about? So I'm like, all right, well, if it's a matter of crafting the right legal language, and making sure that's intact, for, let's say, for perhaps you're getting into development and then, things happen. And it's like, oh, well, we need to basically partner with another developer, or we need to bring someone else in, or the property has to be sold or whatever. That then the community is still basically getting exactly, or pretty much more or less exactly what this current development plan is. So from that standpoint, I'm definitely willing to work and ensure that we have the right language, the right plan, etc., in place. And that is what governs and controls. And then as we go through the vertical development, then this is what you see at the end of the day, as far as the layout and etc., and the uses and restrictions and whatnot. That's what you get. Now, to be quite frank, you're probably not going to see anything happen for 3 or 4 years, because guess what? Interest rates are high and development starting to slow down. But 5, 6 years down the road, this is what you see, or this is what you would get. So that's the point I'm at with basically trying to make it work. And if we're not able to come to some agreement of some sort or figure it out, then there's always a next time. And then I've learned a lot about this area, and etc. So we can go from there.
John, I have a question. You alluded to the people who own the land or whatever hadn't been very good previously to the Cane Ridge community. What were you talking about? Because I don't know.
To talk to Tanya Hands,
Yeah, Greener Way folks.
the Greener Way folks down down Murfreesboro Road, closer to the Laverne.
The guy that owns her area is this same person?
He's the same person.
Same guy, and he's also the same guy who is giving us all sorts of grief on the Meritage property that Meritage was trying to produce. And
Okay. All right. That's good. That answers that.
okay. And
Definitely.
the thing with that, Council Lady Lee, is that despite what Mr. McDonald says, this is a bill or an effort that would put significant additional dollars into the owner's pocket. I mean, that's the only reason. That's what rezoning does. Every time you rezone upwards, you're creating significant wealth in property for the owner, or in this case, the optionee, who is Mr. McDonald. So this is all about money. The surrounding areas are AR2A, RS10, R15. So
CS.
no, this is a significantly increase in density, but
Yeah, well, we've done that, and I'm sorry, my babies are in the background. They won't behave. One is really young and one is 9, and the one is young is picking on the other one. Yeah, and that's what, and we know that's what everything is all about, money, trying
Right.
to help too. So we got that.
Yeah.
Larry, I saw your hand, I believe, go up.
Yeah, Joshua, remind me the square footage of the residences you're proposing.
Sure. Yeah. So there are different. So there are different. So they will end up being different floor plans and different configurations as
Yeah.
far as square footage goes. But we're looking at somewhere. So the townhomes will end up being somewhere around 1,600 square feet finished, 16 and 1,700 square feet finished. Then there would be some other class of homes closer to like the 1,800, 2,000. There are
Those would be the phase 2 area.
no, so for the phase 2 area, those are probably going to end up, well, yeah, those end up being probably around the 2,000 square foot mark, since those are like single detached 25 by 40 and 2
Okay.
stories.
And
That's what you end up with.
how many of the homes are going to have primary bedroom and bathroom on the first floor?
So all of the homes in the first phase, as far as the 20 by 60 footprint, that is the goal for those. So all of those homes will end up having basically all of their living on the ground floor, as well as their rear loaded garage as well. Because that's a 1,200 square foot footprint. So after taking out the garage, you have 800 square foot footprint. And in that 800 square feet, you can have living, bed, kitchen, little dining area, etc., all on that first level.
And then in phase 2, the larger.
Yes, because in phase 2, those end up, so under phase 2, that's where the public road comes in, effectively connecting to Hamilton Church. And because you see how skinny that is as a neck, in phase 2, those are just all like true detached single family homes of more typical configuration. So the footprint on those, that should be right around the 25 by 40 mark. The final footprints will probably end up being maybe a little bit larger, maybe a tad bit smaller. But those,
But primary living and bathroom.
so the primary living and bathroom on those, that is TBD. I have not spent significant time and effort on designing the specific plans for those.
I'm
Uh,
I'm frankly concerned. I mean, you know, I'm at the point in my life where I'm starting to look at, what do I need in the future? I frankly was a former mortgage holder in Edison Park. Okay. If I wanted a a 2-floor living space, I could find it already in Edison Park.
well, if it's for
Even
sale,
I even know of homes that have the primary bathroom and bedroom on the first floor. Okay. I don't see that this is going to have the appeal that you're going to need for a 55 plus up community.
okay.
Joshua, take some time to explain. I saw a question come in the chat. I don't know if you're looking at the chat too. I think Miss Glenda had a question about exactly where this was because she couldn't tell from the map because the map is so light. And if
Sure.
I'm speaking out of turn, Miss Glenda, then you ask yourself.
It's Gilda.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It sure is. My bad. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. This is Gilda, and yeah, I don't know where this is, but I would like to know where this is. If is this like south of Hobson and Old Hickory, or is this north of it?
I guess it's technically north of it. Yeah, it's north of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going north on Murfreesboro Pike. So I live in one of these over 55 um yeah subdivisions. It's got HOA. Y'all probably heard of Park Place, and they're just like basically duplexes, and it's all duplex community except for one home. And what I'm concerned about is a lot of like in the neighborhood, we still have quite a few elderly, but more and more younger people are moving in, and they build them like a story and a half, and really it would work so much better if some developer would, do like single story development, because when you talk about building up, I mean that doesn't serve our purpose. And yes, sir, I'm well over 55. I'm in my 60s, as a matter of fact, and it doesn't serve my purpose to have to climb stairs. I'm just going to tell you that right now. So I don't go with wanting to build multiple stories of development and then call them over 55. And that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay.
Amen, Gilda.
So it is now about 7 after, and I know me trying to maneuver through to get on caused everything to be a little late. But people who have not asked a question or said a comment, does anybody else want to speak?
Hey, yeah, this is Dier. Sorry, I jumped on a little bit late. I did hear some conversation regarding infrastructure improvements to the area. Could you elaborate on what that will look like?
Yeah, so as indicated on our plan and agreed to at the Planning Commission, so we've basically agreed to put in, gosh, it's over 20, it's more than that, it's like 2,600 linear feet of public right of way. So that's public roads, sidewalks, standard public sewer, water, whole 9 yards. Those have to be tree lined, of course. As far as stormwater measures go, we have to put in multiple water quality detention areas, as well as make sure we're treating all of it on site, and limiting impact, basically causing no impact, if anything, a net negative benefit to the current like Savage Creek that flows to Percy Priest. So that's on that front. Now, from the private development standpoint, what's included in that is, well, there of course sidewalk, well, there's walking trails. Then there are some activity areas. There are three different there's two activity parks, or there's one activity park and two dog parks, I believe. And of course, that ends up actually being of net benefit mainly to the neighboring Edison Park area, which has a lot of kids, like quite a few children, if you just ever walk through there. And so that would just end up being more or less public benefit, being able to walk, freely on the development, especially given the fact that it's public right of way and not private roads. So those are the main infrastructure things there for improvement, or just adding, honestly, that aren't currently there.
Nor is it needed. The only reason you're putting it in is because of the demand for these houses to be supported by
also
it.
because the planning department has indicated, but through their grand master plan for their roads, how they would like greater connectivity in the area. This achieves those goals as well.
Yeah, but I guess
Okay.
again, I'm sorry, just to elaborate on that. Without the high density that's coming with this development, I didn't really hear any improvements to the overall general area for this development. Again, there are many other challenging issues that are facing the area, and I didn't really hear any of those being addressed with infrastructure improvements in your response.
Sure. Well, I kind of did give an answer. And the main answer is it's of net benefit to the Edison Park neighborhood directly next door, as once it's actually developed and there are roads and sidewalks in areas, it's of net benefit for the families that actually live next door, because the fact they have greater area to walk around, they have greater area to enjoy outdoors, etc. And it provides greater connectivity for people who live in the Edison Park area, or HOA area, and they're able to get over to Hobson Pike and etc. So that definitely does benefit them in those ways. Now, as far as some like larger, grander community improvement, well, no, because it's very localized to this particular area, and this district is quite large. So I'm not really certain, as far as what else it could really do, other than, benefiting the immediate people around it for the reasons that I just mentioned. And then long term, if you have like greater constituents to come into the area or more constituents to come into the area, then that increases demands for goods and services and greater commercial development that will likely be more attractive or feasible for people to undertake. So from the long run perspective, it definitely is of greater benefit. In the medium term, it more so is very localized. But that's typically how those things go. It makes commercial development much more attractive on Hobson Pike. As I do know that's somewhat underdeveloped as is.
The answer is no, Darius.
Thank you.
All right. So I want to thank everybody, unless somebody that has not spoken has a question. Okay. Joshua, you may want to look at, um, and I don't know if you can change some of the design and things. You may want to look at the stairs and the two
Okay.
stories and things, because as we have always said, uh, one story is better for aging people, not 55, I guess, and up now, more like 60 or 65 and up, and people are living longer. So
Right.
that may be something that you want to look at. I will tell you that I am not, I just realized in 2 months, there will be another council person in this particular area. And so I am not so inclined to sign and to send this forth now because it's so quickly that you're going to have another council person. And I think it's kind of unfair to do things um, quickly that they will have to then deal with and work with you on. So that may be a good thing to give you some time to kind of listening at some of the comments that were made, to look at the way that the buildings are built. I will also tell you, I didn't even remember the name, the Shams or whatever, but he did not his the way that he interacts with some people is not forthcoming. So I don't know if that should have anything to do with this or not, except that it may show how he deals with people, if it's something that we need changed or something he's not doing, um, that type of thing. So just I don't really know my point of saying that, to just say that we want good developers just like we want good community members. So we want people who will care about the people in the area where they're building, and looking at their needs as well. There were some questions about how far, and I don't think it's that far because I think right down on Murfreesboro Road, but I think the question was asked before I turn it off. How far is the closest hospital? Because if you're doing uh, people who are older, they may need to be able to get to hospitals and things easier.
The
And your surrounding area, have you looked at that?
So for the closest hospital, it's likely going to be well, there's urgent care. It depends on it depends on, like, I guess if it's a full service hospital versus, like, light staff or etc. And it's either you're going to have to go to the Smyrna Medical Center potentially, or you're going to have to end up probably going to TriStar Summit, which is over near off of that's like Nolensville Pike. It's, what is it? Thompson Lane, Nolensville and Thompson Lane. Those are going to be your two, I would say, your two largest, like, full service hospitals. But then there are tons of other urgent care and some senior citizen facilities as well, sprinkled about.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for being on here. I want to thank you for being on here as well, Joshua, and good luck as you all look through, taking some of the comments that you heard tonight to try to maneuver things to help with that. Um, if there's anything else, I don't think my beautification person came on. No. Okay. But you all, you know him, Deontay Harrell. So if you have any, he will also work with you when you have to try to organize a pickup in your area. Don't forget large items like mattresses, other things like that. You can also call the sheriff's department to come pick those up. Now, they're not going to come all the way over on your land, but if it can get to the end of the land or the road or something like that, they will pick those up. And also call Metro. Instead of driving by some stuff and saying, "Oh, that looks terrible," just go ahead and call in and put it in. Instead of waiting for, because we all just like wait for the other person to call. So we can all kind of help out by just doing that. And I'm lazy, so I would rather call 311, but you can put it in the hub, however you can do it, so that we can all help things together. Well, it's
Thank
not
you.
dark
Good
yet,
idea, yeah.
and you all can still enjoy some of the evening. It's not raining.
Oh yeah, yeah. Gym doesn't close till 11, so we got plenty of time.
Oh, no, I wasn't thinking about that, but I should be, but I understand.
So Antoinette, bring the puppies to the next Cane Ridge meeting.
Oh my gosh, no, that would be too much.
It'd be fun. You kidding me?
How many puppies do you have?
I have two.
Okay, doable. Yeah, you can handle it.
What? Oh, what are you chewing?
Oh,
Oh,
9 months. So I was dumb. I don't know why I got another one. But anyway,
because you
you
love them.
all, I do.
Yeah, I
They're
know.
my babies now. You need company. You need company.
Yep, I know.
So thank you all so very much for giving up some of your afternoon. You all have a beautiful rest of the time and be safe out there, everybody. Thank you.
good.
Bye-bye.
Everybody. Bye bye.
Bye, guys. See you, Ed.
Bye.